minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Public service announcement. I need all my Titan fans to come on down. Grab you some popcorn, grab you a drink. Titans Colosseum in the building. Yeah, not, boy, I'm in the game. Still ballin' out, never change. I be rapping my hometown for the whole city, really knew my name. Boss talk, I don't do favors. Yeah, we signing deals with the top players. We just started this lifestyle. We be having all kind of haters. I'm a madman, they better come get me. Wanna box me in, but I'm too shifty. If they come at me sideways, I'ma stiff on me like Derrick Henry. Now listen, we're not the same. EA Sports, boy, I'm in the game. I be rapping my city, dog. Got a Titan logo hanging on the chain. Big money, big moves. New stadium on the way. Nashville, we hold it down. We the one team that you don't wanna play. They be trying to talk down on us. I just laugh at them and I walk away. I don't tolerate disrespect. Might shoot a fade, penny hard away. Big money, big moves. New stadium on the way. Nashville, we hold it down. We the one team that you don't wanna play. We be putting in the hard work, so we coming in with all kind of skill. I be living in the end zone. My finger roll like Tannehill. What's poppin'?
Oh, my fault.
Nah, man, here we go with the bloopers, man.
I pressed it, my bad.
Man, come on, man. God dang, boy, I already take off, but I'm gonna take off anyway, man. Look at my ring along going. Oh my God.
See, you talking about it?
It's not ready. We're having a bad start.
Man, look, man. What?
This is not how everything usually is. Late. That's what it is. It's late.
Man, welcome to the Titans Colosseum Podcast, man. I'm your host, Morocco Taylor. I'm in the building with my co-host, Little Firestone, RJ Ellison. Fellas, what's popping?
What's going on, man? Good to have another show. I know we're a little late today, man. We had a lot of technical difficulties in the background, man. And hey, we here to get to you in the late show, man. But you know what I'm saying? But we got a lot of stuff we need to talk about, though. So we're gonna handle it.
Yeah, man. Excited for another episode, another two-tone business. Talking. So, and we got a special guest here with us tonight as well. So, man, I'm excited to get to the topics.
Yeah, most definitely. Wait on Morocco. It seems like he kind of busy. Like we,
yeah. So, no, man. As further ado, RJ, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest for tonight?
Oh, most definitely, man. We got one of the few, the many, Mike Herndon in the building, man. How's it going?
I appreciate you guys having me. It's going good now that I got a little man down. So it's been a hectic night here, but we're cruising now.
Okay. You want to handle it like Morocco?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So before we can get into this two-tone business, let's go ahead and run it through and talk about our sponsors. So this episode is brought to you by lionsdenbeardcollection.com. If you're trying to get your beard in the tip-top shape, whether you're starting it or just trying to groom it back into the best shape, make sure you go grab the luxurious products over there at lionsdenbeardcollection.com. Use promo code Colosseum and get 25% off your order. As well as this episode is brought to you by Sunny Smiles Coffee, premium freshly roasted coffee. Right when you order it, they don't grind it, they don't roast it until you make the order. They got a bunch of different origins, flavors for you to try, and they got sample packs as well. So go to sunnysmilescoffee.com and get free shipping on all your U.S. orders. As well as make sure you guys go into the website, TitansColosseum.com, checking all the articles we've been dropping. Sharm Sports has been dropping some heat fire articles for us, as well as Morocco, and me and RJ has been writing up as well. Though, you can go to TitansColosseum.com, grab the merch. We do have our Let Rain Cook merch out now for y'all to go grab. Y'all have been going and snagging it up, getting a bunch of it, hoodies, shirts, man. The support y'all have been doing has been unreal, so we appreciate y'all. So if you haven't grabbed it, go grab it. Plus, we got a bunch of other merch for y'all to check out as well. Now I'm gonna pass it to you, RJ. You got your plug.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. If you guys like the interview in a bit, if you like the intro, man, make sure y'all go to anywhere any mainstream music producers, and you'll see Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere. Make sure to check out Romel's in the Game, man. Make sure y'all get that download, man. Play it, man. Get my numbers up. You feel me? and you know what I'm saying. You know you like the intro, so
yes, and check out the other music he gets as well. He's really underplaying it right now. He got some good songs, got some heat out there. So y'all go check that out. Okay, so now we got all the bills paid, all the intros and all that out the way. We do got some Titans news. We see that the Titans have brought in another wide receiver free agent for a visit with Zay Jones, and kind of want to get especially your thoughts on this, Mike, about Zay Jones, the possibility of him versus, Tyler Boyd coming in, which makes more sense to you, and what does this mean for the future for Treylon Burks?
Yeah, I think to me, it's kind of a deal where I'd prefer Tyler Boyd between the two. I just think Boyd is a more consistent player. Zay Jones, he was really good actually for the Jaguars in 2022. It took a little bit of step back last year, but he also dealt with some injuries and stuff like that. And that whole offense was just kind of dysfunctional last year to a large degree, which is not all Zay Jones' fault by any means. Boyd is certainly more of a slot guy, like slot only. And Zay gives you a little bit more versatility. He can play outside. That's where he's mostly played in his career so far. But you could slide him inside if you wanted to. And so I think he gives you a little bit more versatility, a little bit more athleticism. But I just still like Boyd better overall. And both of them give you good size, good sure hands, that kind of thing. So to me, Boyd's the better fit. But I think either one of them upgrades what you've got and gives you. I mean, it's going to be a veteran receiving core. They're going to be on the older end of things for sure. No matter which one they went with, or even if they went with another vet out there somewhere. But I think that's good with a young quarterback. You got some guys that know what they're doing and can kind of help shape Will Levis as a quarterback in these early years for him. So, I think they both fit. I think they both help immediately. And as far as what it means for Burks, I think they're kind of out on Burks, to be honest. I know what Callahan said on the radio on I think it's Ramon, Kayla, and Will the other morning. I understand that. I think he was just trying to gas the guy up, whether it's to try to hopefully get a trade or whatever for him. But I just think they're out on him. Their actions tell me they're out on him because they're just, they're kicking too many tires on too many receivers at this point to not tell you something about how they view Burks, because they're not signing Boyd and Jones to come sit the bench. I mean, those guys are going to play. And we already know Ridley and Hopkins are going to play a lot. So where does that leave Burks in this whole thing? So I think it's going to be wide receiver 4 at most.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that. I 100% agree, man. I feel like they don't mention Burks. They don't very rarely ever talk about him. You know what I'm saying? Look, I think he's gonna get traded, man. You trade him now before he goes out there, he messes up again, and his trade value goes down, man. This is probably the most trade value we're gonna get for Burks. I want to see if we can get some type of 5th round pick for him, man. I would be ecstatic, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he got talent, but it's just too much dumb stuff happens to him. He already showed up to camp, you know what I'm saying, overweight. He's dropped passes, too many concussions. You know what I'm saying? It's you're too talented to be doing this, man. It's too talented for all this stuff to happen to you, man. Nah, go and trade him to another organization. Let them be their problem.
Yeah, bro, I've been saying this since towards the end of the year. It's hey, when it comes off season time, we need to really try to stop Treylon and figure it out, because he hasn't been playing up well. His injuries, his conditioning, it's just not been what we want. And a lot of people compare him to A.J. Brown standards, but I just try to compare him to a first-round standard. And he has not been a first-round grade wide receiver standard by any means possible. So you got to try to get him out. If he's not, for us, I don't see it being a beneficial. Even if he does good, I think we're already ready to move on from the coaching staff. We've seen outside of the radio interview where it probably felt like Brian had to say something about Burks finally, because the 2 pressers you had before that when they brought up wide receivers, You didn't bring up Burks. We talked about slots. You named everybody but Burks. Then when you talked about the top wide receiver guys, you named Treylon, or you named D-Hop, and then you named Calvin Ridley. Still didn't name Treylon. And then you go do a radio episode. So I feel like you're just trying to get some draft capital back into him. So I've heard Steelers are kind of possibly interested in Burks. And like I said, if it fits 6th round, I'd be ecstatic for that just to get him. Mike, have you heard any possibilities that like the Steelers are interested in trading for Treylon, or is that just still a rumor mill out there?
Yeah, I haven't heard that specifically. I mean, I think his trade value is probably pretty low. I mean, you look at a guy like N'Keal Harry, and I think he ultimately went for like a 6th or 7th. I think that's probably what you're getting for him at this point. I mean, I think he's more talented than N'Keal Harry, but, he just hadn't shown it. I mean, he hadn't been on the field. Part of that's not his fault, the injuries necessarily. You could say maybe some of them are his fault for not being in good enough shape or whatever, but the concussion, that has nothing to do with him. The knee injury, even, I don't think that has anything to do with him. That's just a bad break or whatever, but it's just too many bad breaks and then not enough production in between the breaks either. Cause I mean, it's like, it'd be one thing if he was balling out every time he was on the field and he was just missing too much time, but he is not. I mean, he disappears. He had one big play last year. I mean, that was it. The big long catch against the Chargers in week 2. And then he was a ghost for the rest of the season. I mean, NWI was clearly better than him when they were both on the field healthy, which is a pretty big indicator of kind of where he's at right now. So I think conditioning's a problem. I don't think he's a great route runner. I don't think he's not the kind of guy that like is a quarterback's friend as far as like knowing where to sit a route down or knowing where to, just naturally feel that soft spot in the zone and find it, or knowing where to put your leverage to give your quarterback a window. Like, he just doesn't have any of that feel stuff. He's a big, strong athlete, good. I think he's got pretty good hands, although he drops more passes than you'd like for sure. But I don't know. There's just not enough there really for me to feel good about him ever being the guy that they drafted him to be, which, maybe he was never going to be that anyways, but it's not heading that direction for sure.
So I want to get to this comment right here from Derek Williams. He said Vrave had him on special teams as a first rounder on kickoff coverage. He was never given a chance in Vrave's offense. The man played slot 90% in college, but we put him on the outside. And Mike, what I wanted to ask you is, what was your thoughts about Treylon Burks coming out of college?
I liked him coming out because of, and it's funny, the size and the speed, clear, things for him. And I know he only like ran 4.56, but he was clocked in game over 22 miles an hour. And he doesn't have a lot of acceleration, but he's got long speed. And so I liked that aspect. And then, he made a lot of plays at Arkansas, but he was a demon after the catch is the thing. So like, he would break tackles. I mean, he was hard to bring down. I thought that was going to be what part of his game would translate, was the run after catch stuff. And it just has not here. Like, when's the last time you remember Treylon Burks making a play where you're like, man, he just shook off, 2 tackles and made a huge play? Like, none of that. He hadn't done any of that here. So that's something that I've been disappointed in. I was a fan of his coming out. And I thought there was some of that stuff that would need to be massaged. But as far as the stuff about him being in the slot, yeah, he was used in the slot at Arkansas, but that Kendall Briles offense that he was playing in there, you just can't project any of that stuff to the NFL because it is not the same. 56% of his production in college came on either screens or go routes out of the slot. And that's how they used him, was they ran him deep and then they throw him the screens and let him break tackles and run. And that was it. He wasn't running like a full wide receiver route tree. He wasn't running the kind of routes, the choice routes, the little like intermediate routes that you see slot receivers in the NFL be asked to run. He just wasn't running those things. So it's not like, I get it, he was in the slot, but it's just a very different set of tasks that they asked him to do at Arkansas out of the slot than what any NFL offense is going to ask him to do. You just can't run it the same way that what you do in college. Part of it's the rules of the game, like where you put the ball on the hashes. The hashes are wider in college. You got more room, for your wide receivers, on the field side. Part of it's just the structure and the fact that, hey, when you're at Arkansas and you're playing in the SEC and you've got a guy like Treylon Burks who's 6'3", 225, most of those defensive backs, even in the SEC, are not NFL defensive backs. They're not NFL caliber dudes. I mean, they're a lot of future car salesmen out there too. Not just the smaller schools. So, I think Burks was able to dominate physically, and that has not translated, which is a surprise because usually, like, if a dude is breaking tackles in college, usually he break tackles in the NFL too, and that just has not come along.
Yeah, his run out to catchability has been very underwhelming. Like, if they'll throw him a 5-yard pass and he only get 5 yards. Like, bro, like, you can't go. You're too big to be going down on the first cornerback that hits you, bro. Like, exactly. Break the tackle, bro. Like,
you're 200 and almost 230 pounds. Some days you look like you're 240. You should not be getting hauled down by these 185 cornerbacks out here that come up on you.
He was a number one wide receiver.
Yeah. And I know he was like, we had him out on the outside and he played slot 90% of the time. Well, when you're still, I don't care if you played slot all that in college, when you're still the best wide receiver in the room, you're going to get put out there on the outside. They're not going to put the number one guy in slot all the damn time because that's where they're going to throw NWI like they've been doing these past couple of years. But we thought with Calvin coming and then D-Hop coming, it's like, okay, now Burks can play the position that he's supposed to play in the slot. But now you got Tyler Boyd coming in, and then you got Zay Jones coming in for visits, and you draft a wide receiver. Even granted, Jaquan Jackson's probably going to be just a special teamers for now. You never know what somebody's going to be able to do. Tajay Spears shocked us last year with the explosive plays he could create. So do you see us truly signing to Tyler Boyd or Zay Jones? And I feel like you said, Tyler Boyd is the more guy I lean more towards than out of Zay Jones. And I feel like that makes the most sense. And to a lot of Titans fans, that makes the most sense as well. So what do you think has happened that kind of held off the contract with Tyler Boyd, and why Tyler Boyd was able to leave the Titans facility without a contract?
Seems to me like Tyler Boyd probably wants more money than what I think the NFL thinks he's worth. Because, I mean, he visited with the Steelers early on in camp. The Steelers reportedly offered him what I would consider a pretty decent contract for him. I think the reported offer that was out there was like 2 years, $10 million, something like that, which, I mean, for a guy that's coming up on 30, production's been declining for 5 straight years, that's not a terrible deal for a guy that, I mean, he's a wide receiver 3 ultimately at this point. He is no longer a 1,000-yard guy that he was early in his career. I mean, he's decent, he's good, like he's solid, but he's not a 1 or a 2 for sure at this point. So I think that's decent money. So it seems to me like maybe he's holding out for more money than what the NFL is telling him he's worth right now. So we'll see what he gets. Ultimately, like, I mean, look, the Callahan connection, it makes a ton of sense. Zay Jones has the connection with Nick Holt. So, as weird as it would be to rebuild, the 2022 Jaguars or 2023 Jaguars receiver room, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. I think Zay is a perfectly fine 3rd wide receiver. So I'd be okay with either of those. And I'm a little, I guess there's no, well, I'm trying to think now because, there would be a connection on the staff because Bo Hardigree, the quarterback's coach, was with Hunter Renfrow in Las Vegas. So I'm kind of surprised they haven't shook the tree of Hunter Renfrow just yet, just because, I mean, that's another guy, has been productive, probably isn't going to cost a ton of money, and he's just out there on the streets right now. So any of those 3 guys, you could add them, and they step in the door tomorrow, and they're your 3rd wide receiver. So I think they're all good options. And look, Hopkins was really good in the slot last year, so he gives you a lot of flexibility. Like he can line up, play wherever you want. So and so can Ridley for that matter. I mean, those guys can all play all 3 positions. So you don't have to sign a slot. You don't have to sign an outside guy. You can mix and match with that group. And honestly, that would be the best thing that they could do is matchup hunt. If they can get 3 guys that are versatile that can play all 3 spots, and then they can just throw them where they need to go. And try to attack weaknesses on the defense. So I hope that's where they go anyways.
Yeah, because you kind of – go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, do you outside of these 2 wide receivers that we get, do you see us going after any other wide receivers? You know what I'm saying, within this free agency? I haven't got a chance to really look at the list, but
yeah, Renfrow would make sense to me, and then the other one that kind of sticks out to me is Richie James. who, we've seen have some success as a slot receiver in the league, and also bring some kick return, punt return ability too. Of course, he's an MTSU guy, so it could be a little bit of a homecoming for him too. But it's that kind of, I think, is the four that I think would actually come in and help right away. Everyone else that's kind of out there at this point, I think, is more depth than anything else.
I tell you, if they go get Renfro, I will know for sure that Treylon Burks is out of here, because I mean, he's a good guy, but that almost seems like a guy that's almost in Treylon's situation, just more productive than he has been, but still kind of got some of the same questions that you kind of got for Treylon, but like I said, he has been more productive. So I don't know. I'm really hoping for the Boyd situation. I think you're right, or I agree with you on that it's money issue, because you saw him go to the Chargers, then the Chargers went ahead and go sign a wide receiver. You saw he went to Pittsburgh. Now Pittsburgh's acting like they're not too interested in him as well. This is kind of your last connection of your visits that you went, so you're going to possibly now be settling for, all right, I'll just take a 1-year prove it deal type situation and go out there and prove it. And if that's what it comes down to, then why wouldn't you go back to the coach you've already had success with before in your previous years to try to help make that more better for you? And I just wouldn't want 2 former Jag wide receivers on this core. I don't want to have Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones on here just to hear the Jags talk the crap that they're going to talk about if that is successful. I'm not ready for it. One Jag is okay, but not 2. So, and I know we're talking free agency and the wide receivers have been a lot of visits, but a lot of Titans fans are still curious that there's some things we need on defense as well, and safety being one of them. So what is the safety free agency looking like, and what do you see the Titans doing? Is Simmons still a possibility for us to sign in at the safety position for free agency?
I definitely think he's still in play, because, I mean, ultimately I think they wanted him. It came down to money. And again, a guy that, look, he's been super productive. He's been a all-pro or Pro Bowler for, I think, 3 or 4 straight years, still playing at a really high level. And look, he is 30, I think 30 or 31. So he's not going to be able to command like top of the market safety money, which is, I'm guessing, probably what he's after. But the fact that he's still available tells you he's just not going to get that kind of contract at this point. People don't have that kind of money to give. So I'm interested to see what that market turns into, because I know they're interested. I know they like him. It's just a matter of whether they can get to a number that they both agree on is good value. And then the other one obviously is Marcus May, who I feel like is kind of the fallback option here. He's got relationship history with Denard Wilson. They were really close when they were with the Jets together. He's been a little banged up the last couple of years. I think he's still a good player, but there's a little bit more health risk with him, which is why I would, and he even at his peak wasn't quite the player that Simmons is. And then the other guy, the kind of wild card that's out there that they haven't been connected to and don't really have any direct connections to, is Quandre Diggs, who's, again, still a really good player. But that one's harder to see, like, the pull with him, just because those other two they've already connected with and have relationships with. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think they're going to sign one of those 3 guys. I'd bet almost anything that's going to happen.
Somebody said that Zay's better than Calvin Ridley, bro.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
Jags fans been talking so crazy about Calvin Ridley. Like, they act like they was not loving him throughout the season.
All I know is how many 1,000-yard years does Calvin Ridley have, and how many 1,000-yard years does Zay Jones have? And you let me know who's the better wide receiver when you figure out them numbers. That's all I want you to go research. Just look up them numbers and you'll get your answer.
Yeah. Is there any edge options? I'm not really too sold on our edge outside of Harold Landry. I mean, Arden Key is okay, but I just think he's a rotational piece, man. Do you see any us signing any edges, and with this free agency?
Yeah, I think that's honestly maybe their biggest need right now, honestly, because I agree with you. I think Arden's a rotational pass rusher, and that's it. He doesn't play the run all that well. I don't think he needs to be playing 80% plus snap counts. And I don't think Rashad Weaver's anything that you want rolling out there for a ton of snaps either. I mean, he's fine. I think he tries hard. I just don't think he's got that athleticism to make an impact. So there are some guys out there. All of them are they come with their own set of risk and or baggage. My favorite guy that's out there is probably either Emmanuel Ogbah, who, bigger edge guy. I think he's like 6'5", 270-ish, kind of more in that Autry mold, if you want to look at him that way. But, played in Miami, kind of got moved down the rotation after they changed schemes and invested a ton of money, obviously, in Bradley Chubb and a high draft pick in what's that other kid from UCLA, Jalen Phillips, last couple years. So Ogbah, I think, would be a good option. And he also gives you a little bit different style player too. And then the other guy I do like is Carl Lawson, and I've been a Carl Lawson guy for forever. Injuries derailed him in New York after he signed that big deal. But, he's got the connection with Brian Callahan. He's got the connection with, Awuzie, the corner too. So, like, I could see some, connections there. And to me, that guy plays hard. He plays football the right way. As long as he can stay on the field, I think he's better than any pass rusher they've got besides Landry, or at least among the edge rushers. So to me, I would like to see them bring in Lawson. I think he might be my favorite. And then the other guy, and people will roll their eyes because of the history here, but Bud Dupree, man, if you need an early down run stuffer, glass eating kind of, tough guy on the edge, I think Bud Dupree can be that for you. He's not going to give you a ton of pass rush juice. We know that. We've had that experience. But you're also not going to have to pay him $16 million a year anymore. You're going to, the Falcons got him cheap last year. He played decently well for them. I think I wouldn't be opposed to him being here, but I would imagine maybe he doesn't want to be here after his first experience either. And look, most fans probably are going to hear the name Bud Dupree and go throw up in the trash can and call me an idiot. But I understand where you guys are coming from. I'm just saying, stylistically, he makes some sense as an early down guy.
Yeah, I just don't want to see him at a Titan.
I hear you.
I don't want that experience again.
So what if we traded for Trey Henderson, man? You don't see us doing anything like that?
I'd be surprised, just because they already didn't have a third round pick this year. They already don't have a third round pick next year because of the Snead trade. So what are you going to trade for him? For one, you got to start trading 2026 picks, or you got to move another 2025 pick. I would be hesitant to move that much draft capital. Although I think Hendrickson's a hell of a player, and obviously Bengals, Callahan, all that stuff. I would love to have Hendrickson here, but the draft capital thing. At some point, you got to draft some young dudes and build your own stuff from within. So, I'd be surprised if they went and did that.
And I know you don't try to look too much into forward or into the future, especially in football, but next year's draft class is very heavily defensive loaded. So you might be able to fix some of these defensive things next year if you feel like you could possibly hold on long enough this year for it. And that edge, I think we might find a guy this year that works for us this year, but ultimately I think that's going to be one of our top priorities in next year's draft. It's going to have to be edge and safety. I don't know what edge I want to see out there, because there's so many names that come up and you're like, yeah, but is it worth the value of what they're actually worth for us to need? I don't think that the pay value is worth a lot of these guys that are out there. I mean, I'm interested in Hendricks as well, but like you said, the trade value, again, we've already lost so much. We need to try to figure out a way of building up some trade value and some trade capital here moving forward to try to build young and build around Will Levis and what we do. We already kind of got our offense a little bit, but, older wide receiver room, so we need to build there as well, so we can't give too much away. I know last year they had some hype around, Caleb Murphy DN, and somebody was asking about that in the chat too. Is that somebody that's still a possibility of adding depth at the position for us?
Possibility for sure. I like Caleb Murphy. I was a pro Caleb Murphy guy all of camp last year. I thought he should have made the roster, and I'm glad he did. I just think I don't know. I feel like some hype him up too much in their mind based on the huge college numbers, obviously at D2, big jump going to the pros. But as far as like a starter or even like a heavy rotation guy, I'd be a little surprised right now. But as maybe like a fourth or fifth guy who can, get a few snaps here and there and maybe shows something and like moves up as the season goes along. I think he's a guy that probably is a part of the rotation, but maybe not a big part. It's kind of how I see him right now anyways.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, man. I'm not really sold on our pass rush this year, man. It's just, man, I look at our roster, man. I know we got Sweat, and I know we got Jeffrey Simmons, and they're going to be good. Both of them are going to be good this year, but you can't just keep on relying on interior pass rush. Like, Jeffrey Simmons ain't Aaron Donald, bro. Like, he ain't Aaron Donald, man. Like, he's a good player, but he's not Aaron Donald. You know what I'm saying? Harold Landry, he cannot do it by himself. He is a number 2 pass rusher, bro. For anybody, he is the like if we were to get somebody like a James Pierce in the first round, or one of these big time pass rushers, man, and he goes with Harold Landry. Oh yeah, Harold Landry's gonna eat, but he can't do it. He cannot be your main pass rusher, man. I'm just not real sold on our pass rusher, and I just feel like that's what's gonna hinder us this season, and our secondary is gonna have to cover a lot longer than we want them to. That's gonna be our downfall of our defense this year. We'll see,
No, yeah. Go ahead.
This season will be an interesting experiment in the like pass rush versus coverage, discussion, because I feel like last year they had a better pass rush than they had coverage for sure, because mostly just because the back end was a disaster. But you had Autry, you had Landry playing pretty well, you had Simmons in there and stuff like that, so you had a decent pass rush. But this year, I think it's going to be flipped. It's going to be the secondary that's going to have to cover for the pass rush, and so it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. I mean, who knows? Maybe we see quarterbacks having to hold the ball a little bit more, and Arden Key blows up because all he needed was, instead of guys throwing it in 2.3 seconds, for them to be throwing it in 2.6, and that makes all the difference. But I don't know. I think that is probably, outside of offensive line, which they've addressed it. We just need to see how the pieces work. Outside of offensive line, I think edge is probably, and like pass rush in general, is probably my biggest worry on this roster right now.
The Titans are going to have to blitz, like he just said. Yeah. The Titans are going to have to be a blitzing team. I don't trust a 4-man pass rush getting to the quarterback like we've done in the past. Us losing Danico Autry hurt, man. He was our best pass rusher last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, the man had 11 and a half sacks. We just lost that, and I'm like, how are we going to – and I love Sweat. I think Sweat's going to be a really good player, but he's not getting 11 and a half sacks this season. Like, we're not even going to put that expectation on him, man.
The thing with Sweat, though, is he might be able to open up Jeffrey Simmons to get more sacks than what he was, and Harold Landry as well, because not only is he a guy on the interior, he's a guy that is a big body that's going to require 2 people, because you just can't man up on him. He is just a massive human being there. So I think it's a little bit better with it, because I'm with you. I'm sold on 3 spots of that D line outside of the Arden Key side. I want to get that figured out, but then I also have to think on the back end side too. Okay, we are talking blitzing. Cedric Gray right there now from North Carolina. That's a really good option for us too. And then Kenneth Murray. If they can just let Kenneth Murray run around and then let Cedric Gray develop into that green dot guy that we're actually hoping he can be, I think that's going to help us at least get through this year with Arden Key, and then maybe go edge rusher in this next year coming up. But still talking about that defensive line a little bit. We got Latham in the first round and we got Trevonte Sweat in the second round. Out of them two, knowing that our D line and our O line is the 2 things we've had to improve this offseason, which one of those 2 do you feel have the most to prove in year 1 to show Titans fans that they made the right pick with them?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, it's definitely both, because I feel like both picks were heavily criticized to some degree. But I really feel like the Sweat pick was more heavily criticized. So like, I'll go with Sweat out of the 2 of them, just because like I feel like that was like 90% had a bad reaction to that pick. And I think most of it comes down to like, the DUI thing. And then he was pushing, like, people started to push him down boards down to like the 4th round and stuff like that. And then you see all the, the mock drafts show up and he's in the 4th round, and then you take him at 38 and people go nuts, which I think all that stuff is a little bit silly, because like the media builds all this stuff up And then if you don't follow the media's grades, then, well, your team's obviously stupid. Well, who made the media good at evaluating players, So, I think I'm a fan of Sweat. Like, look, I mean, well, here, clearly Texas fan. I'm slightly biased, but I'll also say that I've watched every single game that Texas has played, obviously over Sweat's entire career. There's zero question he was the best player on that defense last year. Zero at all.
So you remember
Byron Murphy, really good player, not nearly as impactful as Sweat was. So to me, like I think Sweat is a dominant player on the interior of that defense. And I think he's going to be really good for the Titans. And I think people have been overly critical of him just because of where he was showing up on mock drafts and things like that and the value. And I get that, but at the end of the day, he was the best defensive lineman in college football last year. I don't care how many sacks he got or what the numbers say. He was dominant. He was voted, the Outland Trophy winner. He was PFF's highest graded defensive player. Like, he was dominant. And as somebody who watched the games, I can tell you that dude took over games. And you just could not block him one-on-one. He changes the math for everything that you do on your defensive front immediately as soon as he steps on the field. So to me, I'm a fan of the pick, obviously, but he's got the most to prove, I think, to the fan base at large.
Yeah, and I said that a couple of days ago. In the last show, I was like, man, I talked to plenty of Texas fans, man, and they said, bro, they all said it. He's the best player on their defense.
Without question.
Yeah.
But I hate to break it to you, Mike, but, this guy over here, man, he likes a certain team you don't like.
I'm from Oklahoma, so I'm an OU fan. So I got to see that stuff up front too. So like when they was talking about, I was like, man, if even before the DWI stuff, I was like, hey man, if we can get Javonte Sweat in the second round, that'd be damn good. I don't think he's going to last there because he's really good. He should be probably going in the late of the first rounds. Then the DWI stuff happened. I was like, I know we ain't got a third round pick, but if he could drop to the fourth, that'd be a hell of a steal. And then we went ahead and got him at second. And I was like, you might have been able to get him later. And then the very next pick after we got Sweat, it was like Brandon Fisk. I was like, oh no, hell no. Go ahead and get him then because they really got him for sure. So I was happy with it because he is almost exactly Jeffrey Simmons, but a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. So, like, I mean, I think A to Z Sports put up that video on Twitter the other day where you showed Jeffrey Simmons and Sweat both doing the same push technique, looking almost identical step for step how they move and push the guy into the QB and then get to the QB. So I think with them two there, then Landry coming on the other side, they're going to be pressure. There's going to be no pocket for a QB to step up into. It's just going to be if our ends can now hold containment and not let these mobile ass QBs we got in AFC South get out to the outsides and then make us look foolish.
Yeah, so I will say this. Mike, have you seen Tyler Rowland's reaction to drafting?
I have.
How did you feel about his reaction?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there's some narratives around Sweat that are just not correct. And they're based totally on judging the guy based on the fact that he weighs 366 pounds. And all the stuff about him not being able to take a full snap count. Look at all the other defensive linemen that were drafted this year and look at where Sweat snap count was last year compared to all of them. He is higher than I think all of them except for like Johnny Newton and there may be one other, but there's like he's like third out of all the defensive tackles. He had more snaps for Texas than Byron Murphy did. They were both healthy all year. He played more snaps. That tells you what the Texas coaches believed about who was the more productive player, whether or not they needed to take guys off the field. Like there was no conditioning issue as far as like, well, he's just too fat to play enough snaps last year. Like there was none of that. Like like I say, I think I mentioned it the other day.
Texas, like it's so hot outside. There's
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Like their first couple games of the season are always like 103 degrees out there during kickoff. And for some reason they always put them in like the middle of the afternoon too, which just makes zero sense. But I mean, the conditioning stuff is a fabricated narrative based on his weight. It didn't show up at Texas. It was not a problem during the last two seasons when he was playing heavy snaps for them. Now maybe early in his career, and I think some of the party animal stuff that you heard reported and stuff like that, I think that all comes from early in his career. And I think everyone in the Texas program would tell you he had maturity issues when he got there and when he was, early on in his career, when he was under Tom Herman and all that. But then Sarkisian comes in, Bo Davis, who is a no-nonsense defensive line coach, takes over that room. And Bo Davis basically told him, look, you're not going to, be the goofball under me. You're going to come to work. And if you won't be, you have the big personality and all that, that's fine. But you got to put in the work. And to Sweat's credit, he could have transferred out. They were hard on him. I know they were. And he could have transferred out and taken the easy road. He didn't. He stuck around. He credits Bo Davis with changing his life. And the last 2 years it showed on the field. And I think that was a case of a good coach in Bo Davis taking a guy with a lot of talent and getting it out of him. And I think that's, something that I think he'll carry forward, because I don't think he's a different guy now. Like, I think he's still the same guy. I think he just knows what it takes now. And personality wise, he's not a bad guy. Like, he's the DUI is bad. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a mistake he shouldn't have made. But I don't think he's a bad person. Like, he's well liked within the Texas program. In fact, I think Sarkisian said he was the one guy that could connect with everybody in that locker room, just because he's got a huge personality. He's a lot of fun. His teammates love him. I think he's going to be well liked in Tennessee too, when it comes down to it. And as long as he produces on the field, I think he'll be a fan favorite before it's all said and done.
And that's something.
Go ahead.
And that's something I'm learning too about him too, is that more I talk to like Texas fans and learn about him, is that he doesn't take the easy way out. Like that situation, he could take the easy way out transfer. He didn't. He got that DWI. The very next day, he has a Titans visit, gets out of jail, goes to the Titans visit, answers every question he had. He could have took the easy way out on a lot of things, and he doesn't. He mans up. He held himself accountable. Then he takes the action to actually make the change. And that's something that I have been sold on him for a lot of times. It's not only just the play on the field. And I've heard so many people talk about the conditioning. I don't know why it is. When it comes around this draft time, people make these weird ass stories like Malik Neighbors can't handle a big market. And then they not only said that Trevante Sweat was not in conditioning, they was also saying A.D. Mitchell was not in conditioning and his diabetes and this and that. Everybody was coming out trying to make excuses, hoping that the guy would drop lower to them so they could go get him. It's just what it feels like around draft time. So it's like hard to believe what's true and what people's trying to bait you in so they can actually get the guy to fall to them. And I think New York's plan worked, and Malik Neighbors actually did fall to them. And Malik Neighbors didn't look happy about that pick. I want to see how that turns out. But he was not happy at all.
I don't think he's going to work out, man. I'm honestly, look, I really like Malik Neighbors coming out of that draft, but the way he was looking, man, and the way he was acting, I feel like we dodged a bullet with him, man. I'm gonna be real. If he acting like that after getting drafted, dude, like what would he have been if he would have came here, But speaking of first round draft picks, man, I really do like that Latham pick though, man. The more that I read up on it, because I like I said, I obviously, so I play Alabama all the time. I'm a Tennessee fan. So we have a top 5 pass rusher this year in James Pierce, and he went against J.C. Latham, and J.C. Latham was, man, I mean, he was giving him the business. So I've always liked him, man. And I watched the Georgia game, Alabama-Georgia game, and, man, he took over, man. I mean, he was throwing Georgia players all over the place, man. And this is a right tackle. That was my only downfall here. I was like, he's showing up in big games. He's throwing people all over. I mean, he's at Alabama, so he's playing NFL players every single day, you know what I'm saying, on top of on Saturdays as well. And I'm looking like, man, if he could just play left tackle, he's the best lineman in the draft. And I said that, and we drafted him. And I ain't gonna lie, I was a little skeptical because I was like, we do need a tackle, but at the same time, like, he's right tackle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are we gonna get left tackle in the second round then? Like, but I see we're gonna move into left tackle. Good pick, man. I really like that pick.
Yeah, I thought, I watched the tape for all the offensive linemen, really, because I knew, obviously that was going to be a pick for the Titans. And so I kind of zeroed in on that group pretty specifically. And by far, my favorite one to watch was J.C. Latham. And it's like, to me, it was like watching Jeffrey Simmons, in the fact that there are just moments in games where he just does something that's like, it looks like a cartoon. The strength that he shows, because it's just taking another grown man and just throwing him against his will, like in another direction. And it's consistent with Latham. Like he just is a bully. He's the strongest dude on the field every time he steps foot on one. I mean, the guy said he squatted 1,000 pounds. I mean, are you kidding me? This dude is, and he's built like the people throw out this guard stuff, and it drives me crazy because it drove me crazy about Fatanu as well. They look like a guard if you look at them. Sure, I agree. Like J.C. Latham is built like a guard physically because he's got the thick legs. He's kind of like a square built guy, but that's because he weighs 342 pounds, and sure he has that like thick lower half, but that's good because he also has 35 plus inch arms, which are way more than you need for a tackle. He's tall, like he's 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in there. He's got all the dimensions of a tackle. He just looks like a guard because he's so strong. Like he's got such a strong lower half. And like I think that's where all that guard stuff comes from, because if you watch him on tape, there's nothing about him that looks like a guard. The way he plays, the way he like pass sets. I mean, he's got quick feet. He's way lighter on his feet than you'd think of for a guy that size. He bends extremely well. Like his posture and pass protection, like his ability to bend his knees and really kind of like sit his butt down in pass pro is extremely impressive for a dude of his size. So like, I think he's the most talented tackle in the draft without question. We'll see how like flipping sides works, but to me, like it's not a skill set question. It's just a whether he can be comfortable question, whether he can, mirror those body, that muscle memory from doing everything left foot, right hand to doing everything right foot, left hand, so like it's just switching that up and whether he can get comfortable with that quickly. But he did it in high school. He made the switch at Alabama to go to the right side. So if he did it that well at Alabama, you would think he could switch back. And like Bill Callahan has a good history with Tyron Smith and to a lesser degree, Jedrick Wells.
He did the same thing with Jedrick.
Yeah, moving those guys from side to side. So I don't see that being a huge issue, and I'm so excited to watch him play because I just think that dude is a bully.
And that's another thing a lot of people are not putting in stock in. Like he went to right tackle and had to learn a whole new position, and he mastered it. He's a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. To think that he just can't go back to playing left, I just find it crazy to even question it, because I mean he been playing left his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Before the 4 years he got to Alabama, and even at Alabama, he practiced at left tackle just in case somebody got hurt. You just go to left tackle. You just input him at left tackle. So they cross train at Alabama, so he can play damn near every position on the line. So
yeah, because that's where some of that guard talk comes from a little bit. Because his freshman year, he played guard on special teams, played left tackle, played right. He moved all over that special teams O line. But then they put him at right tackle. Last year, he wanted to go left tackle. Nick Saban said, "Hey, I think it's still best for the team for you to stay at right." Okay, stay there. So that's what makes the difference for me on this, is that this is not a guy that's like, okay, I feel like I'm a right tackle, but I'll move to left tackle if that's in the best interest of the team. This is a guy that's like, hey, I want to get back to left tackle, and they're actually drafting me in a position that I've been trying to get back to. But because of what was in the best interest of the team, I didn't play the position I wanted to play, that y'all say I can't go over there and now play. So I'm very excited to see what he does and prove these haters and naysayers wrong, because I believe in Bill Callahan. If anybody can do it, it's going to be him, especially with a player that's highly motivated to move to that position. So I know it's going to be somewhat of a learning curve and a little bit of challenge, first step right and then first step left and all that. But I think they'll be able to get him on track. And he's another massive human being that is just big, that just takes up space. And edge rushers, they're fast, but they're not as big as they used to be in this NFL. And if he gets them inside, it's just going to look like a big ass bear hugging these dudes. They ain't got nowhere to go. But man, I think we covered everything here, man. Are y'all ready to wrap this show up?
Yeah, we gonna wrap it up, man. It's late, man. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Mike, we appreciate you coming on here and joining us and everything. Go ahead and take this time, shout out, let the people know what you got going on, plug everything you and paulkarski.com got going on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I have a ton of draft stuff up over at paulkarski.com right now. I'll have some more this week, coming out Wednesday. Yeah, go check that out. I appreciate you guys having me, and thanks for putting up with my scheduling issues. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. So thanks for having me again.
Most definitely, man. Look, the next time you come on this show, man, we're gonna be way more prepared. I promise you.
I'll be way more on time next time. How about that?
Yeah, we'll be way more prepared, man. Today was just a long day. You know what I'm saying? So we would probably be way more prepared. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go out here, let's go ahead and cut these sponsors as well. As I said before, man, this episode is brought to you by LionsDenBeardCollection.com. Trying to get your beard in a top shape. Make sure that you're going out there to LionsDenBeardCollection.com. They also have the growth serum pills for you to use as well to help you if you have issues with a patchy beard. And they got the Lioness Collection for the ladies out there to get lip gloss. So go to LionsDenBeardCollection.com. Use promo code Colosseum and get 25% off your order. As well as this episode is brought to you by SunnySmilesCoffee.com. Premium freshly roasted coffee, free shipping on all U.S. orders. They do not grind or roast your coffee till you make the order, so it is fresh guaranteed. Make sure you go to the Titans Colosseum website, check out all our articles, and read all our press events that we got going. We're getting a newsletter fixed on y'all for that, so y'all can sign up to the email list, as well as check out the merch we got on the website as well. If you haven't already joined, make sure if you're on Facebook, you are joining the Two-Tone Militia over there, Facebook community group. There's a bunch of Titans fans in the community, none of that nonsense. Go there, have a good time, talk some football, talk some smack, just embracing each other and building up the community. So make sure you're a part of the Two-Tone Militia over there on the Facebook group as well. RJ?
Oh, yeah, you already know, man. If you love that intro, man, make sure you download the Romels in the game, man. Make sure you click on that artist tab, man, and check out all the different things that I got, man. I got a lot of stuff on there. So, like I said, you got Apple Music, Spotify, man. Download in the game, man, and also check out whatever the rest I got.
Yes, sir. All streaming platforms. He everywhere, man. Y'all can get
everywhere.
and some new stuff coming out in the future too. So y'all stay posted too, bro. He's been showing me some stuff, and I can't let y'all hear it neither. But man, it's fire ass shit, man. Y'all just be ready. Yeah. But man, Mike, again, we thank you for coming on here, man. It was a pleasure talking football with you, getting some insights, getting some game from you, man. So we truly, truly appreciate that. We appreciate all y'all that was tuning in, that like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, tell your Titan friends about us as well. And in the great words of Morocco, tighten the fuck up. Let's go.